What is going down, everyone? We are here with the famous Card Collector 2 from Instagram. He is. We're lucky to have him on the show. We're going to talk about all kinds of topics, including his card shop and some of the cards that he likes. What's going down, Ryan? How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing good, man.
Yeah,
This hobby is blowing up, man. So it's just fun to be a part of it right now.
absolutely. Yeah, definitely crazy times, but it's great. I love seeing all the attention on the hobby. It's good to get some new faces in there. And again, certainly appreciate you having me on the show.
Absolutely, man. So let's get into how you got in the hobby. I know it could be a long story, but what was the main thing that got you into this hobby?
Yeah, so I started with Pokemon right back in like 99. So I remember being like in third grade and everybody collected Pokemon cards. They were getting stolen from school. So they banned them. So it just kind of transitioned me to sports cards. And then like 2002, 2003, somebody that went to my high school was on the Ohio State National Championship team and then went pro had cards in like 2003 Sage hit. And I remember being at the mall opening a pack from a store called Cardboard Heroes. They sold
Nice.
like mostly sports stuff, but you could get like a pack or two. So I bought a couple packs and I remember pulling his card and that just kind of got me hooked. So I've been in it for quite some time now.
Nice. Now, when you guys, I kind of was in high school during the Pokemon days. I actually, if Pogs blew up, man, that would be, that would be huge for my generation. But when you guys had Pokemon back then, did you guys play Pokemon or was it more of a collecting thing back then?
Yeah, I was really, really young, so I didn't understand quite how to play the Pokemon game. So it was mostly just trading them or stealing them. That's why they got banned. I
Yeah,
remember playing more Yu-Gi-Oh! Like that was the
gotcha.
game I tried to play. Didn't really understand the whole concept of it, so I never played too much of it, but didn't end up playing a lot of Pokemon. I was still pretty young at the time.
Awesome. And you got a card shop in Grove City.
Yep.
Tell us how that started. It looked like it was a shop that you maybe had been in before, and then you decided, hey, this is something I want to get into. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I mean, since I was a kid, I mean, I really wanted to own a card store. It was just kind of always my dream. I didn't expect it to happen so early, but it was, last May I got a call from the owner who I've known for, 15 years, and he said, hey, I'm selling. You want to buy a card store? And I didn't really take it too seriously. It was kind of in one ear out the other, and I was like, yeah, yeah, I'd love to, right? And he's like, no, really, I want to sell it. Got off and consulted. I had conversation with like RBI crew, Ryan Bannister, who
Oh
I'm
yeah,
friends with.
great guys.
Yep, and then Andy at Indie Card Exchange, right? Those are two guys I really look up to in the hobby. Had conversations with them, and it just kind of made sense, right? I mean, he had been in business for so long; it was a turnkey business, so just he had clients that knew where it was. We closed and remodeled it, but with my online following and then the presence he had built in the Columbus area for 40 years, it just kind of made sense, right? I could kind of merge them and put my own touch on it, and that's just what I did. So yeah, it happened out of nowhere. I mean, again, this was a life dream for me, right? Being able to own a card store. It sounds silly, but I was doing cards full time. But to me, it wasn't as fun just doing it over a computer, right? I like talking to people. I'm pretty extroverted, so sitting in front of a phone right all day and trading and selling on Instagram is cool, but
Right.
being able to have face-to-face interaction, that made it so much more enjoyable for me. So like I said, I didn't expect it to happen at 26, but it did, and I enjoy it so much.
With things so crazy, does he give you a call and say like, "Man, I sold it a couple years too early," or was he just done with it at that point anyway?
No. He ended up moving and then ended up moving back to the region and like works out of a flea market now. So it kind of was it's a very interesting topic because it was like, hey, I'm gonna move out of state and retire and go that route, and it didn't last very long, and he kind of came back. So yeah, it's
And
kind
now
of
this is kind of an industry question. I don't know if anybody's going to understand it. They may, but
yeah.
when the purchase came about the card shop, was
Yeah.
his allocation from distributors included? And you don't have to answer that if you don't
Yeah,
want to.
sure,
But
sure.
did
Yeah,
did that? I mean, because that would obviously mean a
that
lot.
yeah, that was the asset that I purchased for sure. The
Yeah.
inventory, it was more like a museum, right? So like how he worked, how he operated is a deal would come in, right? Let's say it's $1,000 deal. And it was like, he only typically bought stuff he really liked, or like higher end stuff he knew he could move. And he would come in, get the deal for 1,000, take 2 cards out for that are worth $50 and sell you the deal for $1,010. So he wanted to work on small margins, flipping a lot of it, but none of it ever went out in the showcases. So the showcase stuff was like stagnant. It was 2009, 2010. Like there was piles of Chris Johnson rookies or Brett Favre's first base cards as a Viking. Like it never turned. So the asset that I purchased was the allocation. The location is good, but the allocation, I mean, for anyone in the industry, that's the goal.
Yeah, and I think that's key, is if you could come across a scenario of that, you guys that are listening out there, is, I mean, you may not be able to find it now, but maybe when it slows down a little bit, that might be a way to get in, because as we know, the guys that buy boxes in this industry, it is absolutely tough to get what you want at a reasonable price. So
absolutely.
So, with your shop, what do you, when you were setting it out, when you were, planning this out, what was your like main thing to set yourself apart from other shops?
Yeah. So the one thing I wanted to really do with it was I wanted to be like a one-stop shop. So my thing is like, if you came into my store and said, hey, do you have this? My goal was to never to tell you no, right? Even I didn't have exactly what you wanted, some sort of variation of what you wanted, right? So this, before Pokemon was big, I knew Pokemon from when I was younger. I was like, I want to carry Pokemon. So we carry Pokemon, right? I wanted to have every supply you could have. It's only like 500, and it's like right around 600 square feet. So it's not very big. So space is a commodity there. But that was the big thing, was just being able to offer something. Like when the old owner had it, it was very tight. So the way he had the showcases up, everything you would come in and want, supplies, boxes, it was all, he had to touch it. Right? Like you couldn't go behind it. It was very transactional based. There was no space for you to walk. There was no chairs, right? I wanted to make this like an environment. Like you want to go to the card store. You want to hang out there. You want to look in boxes, look for singles, look at packs, I wanted to offer everything. So that was really big for us, was making it more personal and of an experience, rather than like, hey, come get your stuff and there's the door.
Absolutely. You guys got to check it out on YouTube. There's a great before and after video that Ryan made of like how it looked before and how it looks now. And I mean, it's night and day. No disrespect to the old shop owner, but I think what you did is making it open, making it more friendly is absolutely key. And he's got a great singles area that I've seen that has everything labeled, so you can kind of find what you're looking for. Now, I have a hypothetical question I'm sure you get every day. How do you respond to somebody that calls you up or walks in and says, I have cards to sell, and they're from 1980?
I joked about this earlier today, but I think it might be true, where I think I see more 80s stuff than I do more modern stuff. Like it's all the time with the recent explosion, right? I'm sure anybody in the industry now hears about it, but like, oh, I've got all these cards from when I were a kid, and it's that 1980s, early 90s. You're talking the junk wax era, and it's hard because what we were doing at first is like, we can always take a look, right? We buy this card, but most people don't have this card, or this card. Like you're not seeing the 93 Jeter foil or a Jeter Tops, or, serial numbered basketball from the late 90s. Like you're not seeing that stuff. You're seeing like 91 Donruss or, junk. And the problem is like, I'd never wanted somebody to drive out of their way to sell me something with the expectations that, hey, I Googled this, what is it, Jose Uribe card from 91 and it's worth $15,000. Like we get that one a lot. So it's like, I don't like it's not fun to tell somebody, hey, these cards aren't worth $5 for this 5,000 count box.
Exactly.
But so we always just damper expectations. Like, hey, we don't buy a lot from the 80s or 90s. If you're ever in the area and you'd like to stop by, I will gladly take a look, tell you what you have and what you can do with it, right? Because that's the best thing, is if you got to tell somebody no, you might as well give them an option to do something with them. Hey, put these up on Facebook Marketplace, put them up on Craigslist. These are your options. They're not worth a lot. So if you can get some money for them, this is how you would go about that.
Or maybe hold on to another 40 years. And maybe somebody will throw the other ones away and they'll be worth something.
We joke about it though, but like if everybody throws them away and they're not as readily available, that's
That's
the
a
big
good
thing.
point. I like that. I'm gonna use that because I feel like sometimes when I tell people we're not interested, they're like thinking I'm trying to take it for less, and it's like no,
Exactly.
I don't even want it, and then it's like, well, why
Yep.
not? They're like 40 years old. It's like then you try to explain to them and what we know every day, but they just like, well, what do you mean? Jose Canseco? And it's like,
Yep.
yeah, but it's they made a bunch of them.
Yep.
So,
Because that's before the internet existed, right? So you didn't know that somebody in California and Maine and Arizona and Florida had the same cards as you, right?
right.
It's just, yeah, different times.
Exactly. So, so what's hot these days? I know Pokemon probably is a big hit for you. I see you guys doing a lot of videos on that. What sports card related stuff are people coming into the shop to buy these days?
So when basketball was going, basketball was the big hitter for sure. I mean, anything Zion, right? When basketball was being played, it was every single day. Hey, do you have Zion? So that has cooled down since. It seemed like the market kind of went up a lot around end of July, early August, and then has cooled down since. So recently for us, it's been football, right? Last year, before the market was where it's at now, we sold a lot of football. I'm 15 minutes from Ohio Stadium, so Ohio State's big. An hour and a half from Cincinnati. I'm 2 hours from Cleveland. Like we're near major football teams, so football's really big in Columbus. So we sell a lot of that. Other than that, I mean, we sell baseball and basketball here or there. We sell some hockey, sell some Pokemon. The one thing I will say, especially with the recent explosion in the market, is we sell a lot more singles than we ever did. That's, we're staying on top of getting them out for sale and constantly updating that stuff, but a lot more singles than we had ever sold before, as so many, fresh faces have gotten into the market.
Now, in terms of football, Mosaic obviously was a big hit, which was its introduction into football this year. What do you tell collectors that are like, should I, invest in Mosaic with Prism and Optic coming out? How do you get that conversation? And if so, how do you handle it?
Not really. I haven't been asked specifically about that. The one thing I try to, educate consumers on, especially newer ones, is like, if your goal is to collect it, typically the first week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks that the product's out, it's going to be higher than it's going to be 3 months from now, right? Excluding the situation where, Tua is not starting versus Tua is starting now, or Chase Claypool has no good games, then he has monster games, right? Like you can't count that into the situation. But for the most part, things will cool down after a release. So if your goal is to invest in that as a long-term, investment, then your best bet is probably to wait. That's the one thing I always try to preach on that is patience, right? Like if I understand you might want a rookie autograph of this player, but if he's not going to do anything in the next 3 weeks, it might make sense because the product is really hot right now.
Yeah, just to wait it out. Yeah, I mean, and you can kind of say that with basketball too, is that like, we get collectors, when we were just breaking, regular Prism, it was just regular Prism every year. And then all of a sudden now you got like, fast break, you have the team all versions, you have the choice versions.
Yeah.
So it's like, collectors are like, which parallel should I gravitate to? And it's really hard to say, which ones are going to be the ones down the line that are going to be worth the most. And then you look at the pop reports on the silvers, from Giannis to now, you've got 9,000 on some of the guys like Luka. So it's like, do you stick with number cards or people, so it's really hard to kind of predict where collectors are going to go maybe 5 or 10 years from now. Right. So,
and honestly, even 2 years ago, I mean, nobody was buying court sides.
No.
Like, I mean, a Luka PSA 10 courtside silver. I mean, I had a friend buy a courtside non-silver of Luka last year for under $300, and I know the silver 10 now sells for like $21K. I mean, so market trends change a lot like that, and it's so hard to predict, right? Like, not Nostradamus. It's just, collect what you like, and you'll never be disappointed.
Yeah, and what do you think about like the second year Lukas? You're seeing those sell for almost more than when Luka was a rookie and his first cards came out. The second year Lukas have gone crazy. I mean, is the third year Luka going to be Prism still? It's like, where do we stop? And it's a good conversation to have in this hobby, right?
Yeah.
But what are your thoughts on stuff like that? Do you buy second year rookie card? I mean, sophomore cards, or do you kind of stay away from those?
Just in terms of like the base cards and in terms of as a long-term investment, no. If I wanted a Luka at this point, I would get the Luka card. I think the argument with the second year stuff is very similar to trends we see in the market with other things, right? The key asset or the key commodity gets so expensive, the average collector can't afford it, so we go to the second best thing, right? So you can't afford the Luka Prism, so let's get a Luka second year, right? You can't afford a LeBron Topps Chrome PSA 9, let's get a LeBron Topps PSA 9, right? So rather than getting a LeBron Topps Chrome PSA 6, you're like, I'll just get a Topps PSA 9. Then that causes the market to rise there. So I'm not surprised by it per se, but in terms of like in my long-term, portfolio, the Prism base doesn't do it for me. Again, you mentioned numbered cards. I think that is an intriguing play there. I like the serial numbered stuff more. Maybe a Luka Blue Ice Prism second year, team color type stuff. I think that has some potential, but just the base doesn't really do it for me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm even intrigued at like the Color Blast, right? I think I seen a Color Blast LeBron going for over 12K.
Yeah,
and it worries me, and I believe, I'm wholeheartedly believe Panini is not holding anything back, but you just without a print run, it's like it's like, is that an investment? What if there's 200 of them and they just haven't been discovered? And it's like it's a crazy thing. It's like the Willy Wonka magic ticket in a sense, is you just don't have any idea about, right?
Yep. Same thing with like Tiger Stripes.
Yeah.
Like you don't know. So that's what makes the serial numbered cards so much fun, is like you do know there is a certainty to that card. Whereas like Tiger Stripe, right? We've always been told it's probably out of 10, but if you can't confirm it, it's just makes it a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, and the crazy thing is I saw your LeBron collection, which is phenomenal. I've got a few chromes myself, but I regret selling my refractor. But those are numbered to 500, right? So that those they're numbered. There's only 499 other ones besides the one you own, and I look at the data from that time period when we had Kobe, which Kobe was just base and refractor, right? And then you had LeBron had the X Fractor, the black, the gold, and the base. I might be forgetting some, but now you've got like 80 or 90 colors. So it's like, it's weird to say, well, LeBron sells for this, but he didn't have those other colors, right?
Yeah. So. And that's the thing that, especially I've seen a lot of newer collectors do, is like compare LeBron to Luka, or even Luka to Giannis, right? Like those aren't really fair comparisons. Like you said, the population, the amount of cards they had, right? Those are two very different arguments. There is like the population on the LeBron Topps Chrome refractor 9s and 10s is a fraction of what Luka Silver 10s is, the silver 10 number for Luka is.
Right. Out of all the LeBrons that are out there, which one is the one that you're going to try to get next?
Man,
I know there's so many of them.
Yeah. I'm not sure. I would love, I'd probably want like a Bowman Chrome refractor. I have the Topps Chrome refractor and I have the SP Authentic. I'd love the Ultimate Collection rookie auto, but those are up there at the moment. I'm not sure I want that. Actually, I take this back. I want a LeBron Jordan dual auto. That's, I think, one of the next cards on my list. Is
probably a $500,000 or something these days, right?
It doesn't have to be a rookie auto.
Yeah. Right.
Just anything of those two. I mean, from 05, 06, 06, 07, anything like that, I would be okay with. I don't want it to be college, but I would at least like to get one auto of those two.
Absolutely. And I think I saw on your Instagram you had an 0304 box of something, right? There's a box with LeBron on it.
Yeah, they're like top prospects. I mean, it's one of the cheaper products from that year. LeBron has a rookie auto in it, but those walked into the store the other day. But relatively cheap.
I mean, anytime you get any 0304, I mean, it doesn't matter what it is, right?
Yeah, so, I'm not complaining.
So are you going to break that, or are you going to is it going to be in the shop, or?
No, that's just something I just plan to throw in the safe and just, keep back for a while.
Nice. I like it. We do the same. Stuff, we wind up breaking too much stuff. We're like, man, we should have kept some of that stuff.
Yeah. And again, you guys can attest to it. And that's definitely one of the harder parts about owning a store is, you see so many cool things, right? And it's like the cards do pay my bills, right? So you have to be willing to sell them, but it's just some things you just want to keep. So, That's
Yeah,
just
I've told this story on our podcast before. It was 1415 National Treasures was just about to come out, and Prism at the time was nobody wanted it. I mean, we had to give it away. We were doing it for hitless packs. So in order to get with one of the distributors, in order to get more cases, I think we were only allocated a couple more 1450 National Treasures. We had to buy 2 cases of Prism 1314 to get one National Treasures case, and the Prism cases were at $20 a box.
Oh
and we literally, I mean, I had 50 cases of Prism, like, and I could not, I was giving it away for hitless packs for like baseball breaks, and people were complaining. They're like, why'd you give me this crap basketball? You know, and it's like, I look back on it. I mean, I don't even want to know how much money that is now, you know? So, but yeah, it changed. I think it was that summer with Cat, I believe, is when it went from like a $10 silver to like a $300 silver, and then the rest is history on those.
Yeah,
things.
I was gonna say I remember picking up Town Silvers at a show really cheap right before that popped off. That's definitely right around that time period that stuff all just went to a different level.
Yeah, there's rumors that there was like a buying group that set it up because there was like a need for, you know, Kobe, you know, Topps Chrome, LeBron Topps Chrome. There wasn't the next, you know, Chrome. Gotcha. And there was rumors that these guys bought like 400 or 500 of each guy, and then they, you know, went up and they made this market value, which now I don't know if I believe that conspiracy theory, because then nobody would be buying these cards. But when that first happened, people were like blown away on the, you know, forums and on Twitter. Were like, this is manipulation because these cards were $10 and now they're $200. What's going on? So
yeah, very different times.
Definitely different times. So it looks like you offer some grading services. Let's settle the debate. Are you doing BGS? Are you doing PSA? And if so, why?
Yeah, at the moment, just PSA. The biggest reason is the market, right? The market, exactly. Everybody wants PSA stuff, right? It just, not saying, you know, personally, I love BGS labs. I think they look great. I love, you know, BGS 10 pristine, like the gold bars, those look amazing. But the market says right now we want PSA, right? PSA 10s bring a premium, a big premium. And I think the big thing for me is if there's not a distinguishable time difference between either company at this point, it makes sense to send cards to where they're going to be worth more in the end, right? Yeah. You know, I would love to be able to use both. Just at the moment, if the time difference is the same, it makes more sense to, you know, get more money out of the card that's worth more. So,
I'm on the same page with you. I mean, when we started, it was like PSA vintage, BGS modern, right? That was the narrative that everybody said.
For sure.
And then it became like, well, wait a second. Now PSA 10s are double the price of the BGS 95s. I mean, obviously, if you get a black label, but that's such a hard percentage to get. Yeah, so it's like, my partner is BGS and I'm PSA, and I'm like, PSA, that's where I'm sending my cards for the foreseeable future. Now, do you think that the pop report will get so big on PSA it may flip at some point? Or
that's a really, really good question, right? Is we're heading towards a 20,000 pop card, right? It's coming. It's likely going to be Zion. You would assume Zion's probably the first card to break that. I'm not sure, right? A lot of the Instagram chatter I've seen is, are Beckett 9.5s underpriced? Right. That like there's a pretty substantial difference between like a Zion 9.5, I think is what, 350, 375, and I think a PSA 10's 550. I mean, that's a substantial gap for cards that for the longest time, right? For those that have been in the hobby 5 years ago, those were very similar numbers. That's a pretty wide gap. So I'm not sure. The Luka, the Zion, a lot of these cards now have 10,000 pop, 10,000 pop counts, but there's also a lot of people. I'm not sure we really realize how many people got in the market with COVID. Is 10,000?
I know that's what I struggle with every day, is that we say, is this going to, and it's going to lead me into my next question here. But like, is bubble going to burst, blah, 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 blah. It's like, well, we don't know how many people jumped in. I mean, we may have went from like, let's just say, I'm throwing out numbers that are obviously incorrect. I mean, we may have went from like 100,000 collectors to 5 million, you know what I mean? We just don't know. Right. So my question is if we are in the height of modern day collecting, what factors do you think can cause this bubble to burst?
Like, what would cause it to burst?
Or maybe it doesn't. Maybe it's just, good for a long period of time.
So I will be upfront that I don't think we're near a bubble bursting. I think there's things now that, like, there's just the one advantage to cards now, especially versus like the 90s, right? Because we always hear the biggest argument I hear now is overproduction, right? There's a lot of sets, there's a lot of cards. That's for sure. But I think the advantage we have now in the market versus like the 90s when the bubble burst the first time is there's so many routes you can go in cards, right? You can break. You can grade. You can go with the retail arbitrage where you go to a Walmart and you wait for 3 hours and you make $500. You could, go to set up a shows. You can create a podcast. You can create, sports card investor. You could be a YouTube star. Like you could open a card store. There's so many different routes you can go, and there are serial numbered cards. I don't know. I'm pretty optimistic about the market. With so many different ways you can go and so many different things you can get into, I tend to feel pretty optimistic about the market.
So me too. I mean, you hear the rumbling, so I figured it was, to bring it up to get your point of view, and I'm on the same page with that. I think, if anything, some people will fall off, but there's so many people in that it's really not going to make a huge difference, right?
Yeah.
So
I think the concern I have about the market is, I was a little more concerned like when we had that big run up, right? So like COVID happened in March, and then there's a run up, right? And until July, anything you bought pretty much turned to gold. You didn't lose money, but that's not how a business works. Like everything can't go up. And my concern was always, like I told this story. I remember last year when Big Ben got hurt his elbow, Mason Rudolph came in. I sold a Contenders red Mason Rudolph 9/5/10 auto on Check Out My Cards for like $900.
Jeez. Wow.
The same card sold in January for like $73.
Jeez.
My biggest concern, especially when COVID happened, was always people getting in, just rushing to the market and just throwing money at whatever they think is good, right? Whatever somebody tells them is good. And then 6 months from now, like Luka is a prime example. Luka got to $2,000 for 10s. You're like, hey, Luka's a star. He's going to be great. Let's buy 5 of them. You spend $10,000. Those cards now are worth $5,500.
It's insane.
If you're new, 45, for us, the guys that have been in the market, that's a $700 increase on the floor from a year ago. Those were 400 as 10s. They're 1,100 now. That's a huge increase. That's great. The market is up. That's what we want. But if you're the guy that just spent $10,000 and is at $5,500 in value, you don't care what the floor was, right? Yeah. You're upset you just lost $4,000. And I think my concern is somebody getting out because they got crushed on an investment like that.
Or like the Bowl scenario, right?
Exactly.
Where you have one practice scrimmage and it's like, oh, he's the next best thing. I even feel that way with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I mean, he had another good game.
I was just going to say that. We talked about this on the podcast I'm a co-host on, and like the first week Clyde Edwards-Helaire came out, he had that great game. His Donruss rated rookie sold for $45, and we talked about it. Like Saquon Barkley, great, right? Great rookie year. You can buy his rated rookies from Donruss for $4. Mm-hmm. Like that's going to go down. So the fact that people were paying $45 is a concern. Even like we've mentioned it before on there. It seems like a lot of the market now is based on FOMO, right? Like you don't want to miss out on the next guy. So everybody sells.
Yep.
Like every single quarterback sells. So it just, I think that's one thing that scares me about the market now is the FOMO aspect of it. Like Drew Lock, like we talked about this, Drew Lock, Baker Mayfield, Josh Allen, Sam Darnold, Dwayne Haskins, Gardner Minshew. Like think of all the young guys in the league that sell because of what they could be.
Yeah.
Dwayne Haskins is the third string. Sam Darnold's on a terrible team. Danny Dimes has no weapons. Minshew's about to get benched. Like these guys sold for a lot of money, and here we are 7 weeks in, 6-7 weeks in, and those guys aren't sitting as pretty. And it's just like not every single person in a class is going to be very good, right? When's the last time you had 3 Hall of Famers in one class? 04? So
exactly.
Minshew, Haskins, Kyler, Locke, Danny Dimes, not all those guys are going to win Super Bowls. Not all those guys are going to be Hall of Famers, but they sell like they could be really, really good. And I think that's the one thing I get a little caught up in is the market sells really well for a lot of guys, and that's not how it always has been.
Yeah, and I think the perfect scenario was obviously like the record Brady sales, and then you had the Mahomes, right? So then it's like, because we always talked about football as like an investment, it wasn't there compared to baseball,
Sure.
and then of course basketball. But then the last few years, it's like, wait, football's catching up. These
Yep.
numbers, these increases are just as much as baseball, basketball. But I think it's the Mahomes effect, right? You see Mahomes cracked ices for like 70 grand, and you see his base going for like 19,000 contenders base autos, or probably even more than that now. And I think that's like Minshew could Minshew be the next guy?
Yep.
I buy this. In my mind, I'm buying it for $200, but it might be 20,000 in 3 years.
Yep.
And I think that, and then you're right with the all these people in the hobby. It's like, okay, well, you can't afford Kyler, you can't afford this guy, you can't.
Yep.
Well, Minshew, I can afford, so I'm gonna spec on him and I'm gonna buy him. So, you mentioned your card podcast. Let's plug that. Let's get people over there.
Yeah. So I am on a podcast. It's called Card Talk. We release new episodes every Wednesday. Tyler, I have two guys on there, Tyler and Lou. They're great. Just it's the one thing we like about our podcast is it's got like different perspectives with it. So I'm kind of like the hobby vet per se. And then there's Lou, who's been in it for about 4 years. And then Tyler, who's, 12, 18 months into it. So just gives a different viewpoint from people that have been in the hobby for different periods of time to come and talk about, hot topics in the hobby.
So shop, Instagram, and podcast. How do you find time to do anything else?
It's a struggle. Like with grading, I started the year with, one part-time employee, and we're up to, 6 full-time employees now. So it's just a lot of different stuff happening. I love it, but yeah, with the hobby exploding, it just got a lot busier. That's for sure.
Well, one thing like I notice is like, when I used to work a day job, I think 11 years ago now, I would watch the clock and hope for it to turn 5 to go home.
Yeah.
Now it's like I see, crap, it's 5. I didn't get enough done,
Yep. And I was talking with my wife about it earlier today. I'm like, we're like under 60 days till Christmas.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is outrageous. Like, where did 2020 go?
Yeah.
So
flew.
Yeah,
it flew by.
But like you say, time flies when you're having fun.
Yep, exactly. Especially with the passion, I could tell with how you speak about it. It's fun and trying to navigate. I have a wife and 2 kids. It is definitely hard to allocate. We're using that word again. Allocate
I'm not there
time.
yet.
Yeah.
See, I don't know how you do it.
It's tough, to try to find time. Daddy, can you play? Was like, I gotta get this next break posted or whatnot, right? So
yeah. See, I commend you. I thought I was busy, but I know I couldn't imagine how busy you could be with having kids too. That's a real commitment. That's a challenge. So you're definitely beating me in this. I don't have anything like that yet.
Well, my wife's the superstar, and what worked out is she got furloughed from her job, and so she's able to be home for the distance learning and dealing with my 2-year-old as well. So she's the one that wants me home more to give her a break.
Yeah, sure.
Well, let's do some quick hits before we sign off. Once again, thanks for giving us your time today. So these are just some quick hit questions. What's your favorite product at the moment to open? It could be anything.
Personally, I like Contenders draft picks. I'm a college guy. Again, Ohio State's my thing. So Contenders draft picks, college. I love cracked dice. So if I'm repping it for myself, Contenders draft picks.
And that's actually, I wanted to ask you that. What do you think, just to kind of go on a segue or a tangent here, what do you think about the 2021 draft class? Are you concerned, or you think there's going to be enough guys that are going to break out?
For basketball?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a lengthy conversation in shop about this over the weekend. I actually really am optimistic about 2020, 2021 because, typically we have March Madness. Everybody watches it. It's it's probably the biggest sporting event. Like everybody watches March Madness. The first weekend of March Madness is the best weekend in sports all year. You've got games 24/7 for, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, not 24/7, but you get the idea. And that's where you see who's really good, right? Like that's where we learn about guys, right? John Moran had some great games last year. Like you get to see those guys, and we didn't get that this year. So I think the big thing is if you didn't watch college basketball all year, you probably didn't see a lot of these guys play, right? You've got the Devi, who's the international prospect.
Yep.
We didn't see much of LaMelo Ball, because he was international. But if you're out in California and you didn't watch a lot of college basketball, do you know who Obi Toppin is? Did you watch him play at Dayton?
Right. Yeah,
So I
yeah.
think that the
I didn't
argument
know about him until last week when I started preparing for Contenders Draft. So
exactly, right? So like if you're not a big basketball guy, if you're not watching every college basketball game, I don't think a lot of these guys are known, right? We didn't get James Wiseman a lot. There's just so much unknown. So
Mhm.
to me, it just seems like it's a good opportunity because eventually one of those guys is going to produce, right? Like LaMelo Ball gets drafted by the Knicks and drops 30, his stuff is going to explode. If Anthony Edwards goes to the Warriors and the Warriors go, 22-0 to start the year when they're all healthy, his stuff's going to go up. So I think there's a lot of unknowns here, but I feel pretty optimistic about the class. But let's be super honest. It's not going to be 1920.
Right.
There's no Zion, so we're not going to get that. But do I think there could be superstars in there? Absolutely. I think there will be somebody in the class. Yeah, and I think with unknown, it's a good buying opportunity because not as many people got to see these guys and play in March Madness. So Obi Toppin being a local guy, I think he's one guy I'll probably pick up a couple cards of. And I just don't, like you said, I'm not sure guys in California saw him play a lot at Dayton.
No. Yeah.
I got to see him, so if he's going to be a top 5 pick, or is his stuff going to sell? We'll see, but I think time will tell in this class. But so much unknown. I feel
and it might be a scenario where the hype, really precedes them and gets people to buy because we're not even going to have summer league, right? So, you're going to see maybe some exhibition games. So, I mean, remember Lonzo Ball MVP summer league, obviously even raised his value even more that year. So now there's no summer league. So, there might be some opportunities to buy some of these guys right now. If you're not buying Wiseman, Edwards, or LaMelo, you could probably buy some guys on the super cheap out of Contenders Draft, maybe cracked ice. And then it's just, wait and see whatever position they get put in. It might be kind of a fun opportunity.
Yeah, I didn't even think about summer league. That's very true. That's interesting. I forgot all about that.
Yeah, there's going to be no Vegas. So from what I understand, unless things change, they're trying to get the season going by December. Yeah. I'm assuming they're going to have maybe a couple exhibition games and then right into the season. So, so then it's going to be a question, are these guys even going to get any minutes? Because they're not, even groomed to be there. So it may be a scenario where these guys, their hype sells their cards for like half the year without even them playing, right?
Exactly. So, but then in the same breath, though, do we actually get to see any of them play this year?
Right. Yeah.
Right. Interesting. Yeah. I'd never thought about that.
Yeah. So that's something to keep up with. And now another question is, what's your favorite, and this could be any sport, favorite insert of the year?
Favorite insert? Probably Kaboom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I really like Kaboom. I'm a big fan of that. That's the first one that comes to mind. So I'll stick with that. I'll say Kaboom.
And your favorite signature from an aesthetic standpoint of an athlete from this year?
Oh, from this year?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it could be last couple years, but just one that comes to your mind is your favorite signature.
I don't know. I mean,
it could be worse signature too, if you want to.
Yeah, worse signature. Cam Reddish.
Yeah, that one's hard to ignore. Yeah,
the line.
The Court Kings one was just absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, literally just a line. But we talk about it, in shop a lot. Like, do these guys really learn cursive? I only learned cursive when I was in 3rd grade, and I don't assume they teach most guys. You don't really need it a lot anymore.
Right. Well, Admiral Schofield apparently learned cursive the day of his signing his cards.
That's impressive.
So, and he's actually got a decent looking signature.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a little busy, but at least it's written out and it's not a couple letters, right?
So. Who's yours?
Like favorite?
Yeah.
Man.
So like all time, I'm gonna say like Jeter.
Jeter's is really nice.
I really like Jeter's.
Probably Sandy Koufax all time.
Yeah, that's a great one. Great auto. Griffey's is cool.
Griffey's is cool. I'm a big Barry Bonds guy, but you don't really see much Barry in anything. So probably this year. I mean, I didn't really care. I mean, Zion's wasn't bad. It was like in the middle of the road, right? I'm trying to think of basketball. Who would have been the best? I probably have to give it to Schofield because it was the most on a card. So.
Yeah, good effort.
Yeah. But
I like Tyler Heroes, actually. That's a good one. Tyler Hero.
Which one? Yeah,
Tyler
actually,
Hero.
that is good. That is good.
Yeah, I'll go Tyler Hero.
And Topps had some cards. I don't know if you remember seeing on Topps
Instagram. The Chrome.
And they didn't answer it. So they don't know. I don't know where they're going, but they have some Tyler Hero somewhere.
They haven't made any announcement on it either, I don't think.
No, we were at the summit, their conference in Arizona last year, and they said that they don't have any plans for it or anything. So who knows?
I remember they got a lot of steam in the hobby when that came out.
Yeah, everybody's
Even
like, oh, there's gonna be
unlicensed,
Topps basketball. Yeah,
even
exactly.
unlicensed, it would still be good.
Speaking of the licensing, do you think in our hobby lifetime here that we're gonna ever see the LeBron or Jordan on Panini cards? Autos.
No,
No.
no. I would love it. Sure, it would be amazing if I'm betting. No.
Yeah. And one thing to keep in
My
mind.
understanding is Jordan has stake in Upper Deck, has like some sort of like stake in that. So my understanding is he has a vested interest in the company's success. I'm not sure how true that is, but
I've heard that too, but I've also heard from people that have worked either with him at Upper Deck or don't work there anymore that they like he kind of comes in once a year, signs like 200 things at his own leisure and bounces and say thank you. Where, you know, like Panini would be like, here's 4,000 autographs to sign, you know what I mean? And he doesn't want to like have to deal with that, right? So, because Panini's going to have to get enough for their whole product line or whatever they're doing. So he kind of likes to take his time and do whatever he wants to do. So, from what I've heard.
honestly, it's such a shame. It really is, especially if like even if Panini had Kobe stickers left, a Kobe LeBron like Lakers auto, like a Lakers LeBron and a Jordan Cavs dual auto, just the things we're going to not be able to ever get. It is really really unfortunate. Like Zion LeBron dual auto, just it's just. Sucks.
Yeah, it sucks. Yeah, and then even LeBron, once he retires, we won't have any more Panini cards because of the player's license.
Yeah, I was gonna say I've always heard that rumor to be true, and I don't know it to be for sure, so I've never stated it as certain, but yeah, that's always been the rumor, right? Is like he's not in the NBA Players Association anymore. Similar to Jordan, he has an exclusive contract with Upper Deck. He retires, no more cards.
Right. And from what I understand, that's true. And I've heard, rumors that he doesn't like Rich Paul, who's his agent from Clutch, has had some bad dealings with Panini in a certain instance. So that he just doesn't like Panini. Allegedly, I can't speak for sure on that. But so that to the fact that, once he's not in the Players Association anymore, you won't see any LeBron. And, I mean, you're seeing that with Kobe. I think Kobe's name's in limbo too, right? We're not getting any new Kobe cards, even just base cards.
Yeah, I never heard what happened with those. I mean, I heard that they were like my understanding is like the redemption. Some of them weren't. It sounded like most of them weren't being fulfilled. Once he passed, I'm not sure. Again, I don't have any.
No, I'm saying just his image isn't being used in anything new. So I don't know if there's an estate issue, like whoever has his licensing rights now, which I'm assuming is his wife and his family. Yeah, because if you've looked, unless I'm forgetting something, I don't think any product that came out after his passing had any of his base in there. Not even a base card.
Yeah, the last product I remember him being in was Prism.
Yeah, I think that was like right around that time, and then after that, nothing else. So
interesting.
Yeah, so we'll see. Maybe they're working out some kind of deal on his licensing to get him back into Panini products. But I know guys that have retired, I think they have to negotiate to get their rights in the product. So obviously guys like Wes Unseld probably are like a bulk deal with other guys, but like Kobe's a big name. They're going to probably try to make money on him.
Yeah, it would be really nice to still have Kobe stuff in product for sure.
Absolutely. All right. So that's all the time we have. We appreciate it. We want to so check you out at Cardcollector2 on Instagram. Also, that's the same YouTube channel as well, right?
Yep, correct.
Cool. And when are we going to get another behind the scenes shop episode? I love those.
Probably not for a minute. We got some things in the works now, but it's just, again, you guys know it as well. It's hard, right? You don't want to put every single detail in there with like a conversation with a customer. There's only so much you can show. So while you want to show a lot of it, there's only so much you can show. So makes it a little bit more challenging, but hopefully
if you got somebody that's saying F Panini points, you go, I got to edit that one out. Right. So you can't,
and it's just like, I would love to be able to show it all, but unfortunately
Now, do you have somebody that edits that for you? Cause that's just really well done. Or are you doing that yourself?
No, I assure you, it's not me. I've had some great people who have flown in to film for the week.
Sweet.
So flew in, filmed kind of behind the scenes, day in the life, did a card shop tour, that kind of thing. So
awesome.
Just producing content, but yeah, it was fun.
Nice. Yeah, it's really well done. I mean, I've watched a couple of them already, and they always pop up on my feed. So when I'm looking for something, it comes up. I'm like, oh, watch that. So, well, Ryan, we appreciate your time, man. Awesome Instagram you've built, and good luck with the shop and everything else, man.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, sounds good. We'll talk with you later. And anytime you want to do another show, let us know. It would be a pleasure to have you on.
Awesome. I look forward to it.